Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going through the Collingwood versus Richmond pre-season game and reviewing it, reviewing the players' roles, etc. in terms of a fantasy perspective rather than the Supercoach perspective, because I know a lot of other content creators have already done the Supercoach side of it for these pre-season games so far. So let's just jump straight into this video here. As you can see, Lipinski was the main guy here, and we know that these practice games, or at least the official ones are still, the second half can become a little bit tedious in terms of who's on, who's not on, etc. So we do like to take a look at the first half and use that more as the measuring stick rather than the second half itself. So Lipinski was a guy that did score 58 in the third and I believe 28 in the fourth, which that amounts to 86, which if you take that out of his score, that's a 55 first half, I want to say. So take that what you will, as I believe he did have something around that 25 or so touches in the second half itself. If I go to, let's just look at Lipinski, 22 touch second half is quite a lot. 15 in the first is still a fair amount, which would amount to 30 a game. But yeah, I just don't expect him to be as fantasy relevant this year. If we just look at the fantasy here and we go to this and then we go to Stat Center, Lipinski, and I'll make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Lipinski is a mid-forward priced at 705k. I don't expect there to be much value there, but maybe he spikes up something in round 0 and changes my mind, but he just doesn't have the role that looks really good. Nick Dacos, 59%. He played mostly the first 2.5 quarters and then sat the last of it. And yeah, 59% time on ground is sort of shows that. 4 goal assists, 6 clearances. I don't know what Richmond were thinking. Obviously, clearly they're not going to tag in this whole season. And yeah, so I think you can target, and that's why I put up a poll. If I go to here, if I go to notifications, it's probably going to show up. If we go to, where is it? Preseason. No, that's not that. This one here. Yeah, you can see I put up a poll about chase the player or chase the matchup, and I think this year is going to be very heavily about chasing the matchup. I know that I was talking with some other people about this and whether or not you can get somewhere close to 18 to 20 out of the 23 games. You can get that VC or C on the Richmond game itself, and I think that's what my team's sliding towards. As yeah, it looks there's mass changes in the fantasy and Supercoach team as we get closer to round 0, round 1, etc. Josh Dacos, 1 goal, 27 touches, 127 marks, 5 tackles. I just don't think this game is still very, very much on the outside. Disposals up. If we look at the possessions as well, you can see uncontested possessions up. You can see marks are definitely up. And the defensive tackles were actually reasonable compared to the first game, the Bombers versus Cats game, but still the marks are still unnecessarily high, I would feel like, given that there was over 200 marks and it's about 20 or 30 marks higher than what a usual game would have, as I think we said that 90 was about the average per side, and this game had, I think, 205 or so, which is about 105, 102 each, 103 each, etc. Nankervis, Nank the Tank, he's definitely come into R2 calculations alongside Briggs, alongside Darcy Cameron. It's just a question of it's hard to pick exactly what to do, as TDK has the most value, I feel like, but the safer option is Nank, so we'll see how that develops over the next sort of week or so. McIntosh 108, Hopper 100. Just think that these guys aren't going to be able to perform that great over time, as we know that the market share needed for these guys will be very, very high, because Richmond are going to suffer. Richmond are going to be one of the worst sides out there, and if you think about it, I think they're going to probably average about 1350 or so points. If we think about that in terms of more 100 average, 1350 needs to get around 7.4% of the total points. That's up there with like what Sheasel was doing and stuff like that. There's not many in the league that go at a market share of 7+, so I just don't know if that's possible for any of these midfielders, to be honest with you. Jaden Short, I really liked what I saw in the first half. I believe he was on 70 or so, 74 maybe in the first half. Let me just double check that with Short. Let me just double check that. He had in the first quarter 31, second quarter 43. So he was on 74 at half time and then decided in the second half basically not to bother. If I just look at the advanced stats for percentage time on ground in the second half, in the third quarter he spent, where is he? He still spent a fair amount of time on the ground. Where is he in this? I'm missing where he is. 76% in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter he also spent 88%. So that's still an average of about 82% time on ground in the second half. So yeah, he did spend a fair chunk on ground in the second half and sort of shut down a little bit. But also you have to look at it in terms of, if you were watching the game, you would have seen that Will Hoskin-Elliott basically put a tag on him in the second half, which was quite funny to see, and just running straight with him, not giving him any space to get those little chip marks, which when they're down 70 or whatever that it was at that point, it was kind of disappointing to see that, but I guess that's what caused it. So we'll see if that happens in the games. But also Collingwood didn't miss, so that also could hand Jayden Short the spare points that he needs to get to that 100 marker and be real value. I just think that there's too much upside there for Jayden Short. His role in the first half was ridiculous. It had like 660 meters gained in the first half, and had, I think at half time, like 20 kicks or something dumb like that. Let me just double check that with Short again. He had 8 kicks in the first and 9 kicks in the second, so 17 kicks through the first half. If he's getting 25 kicks a game, then that's 75 points there. He's going to get the extra marks there, etc. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking with Short. Dan Houston, I just don't think is going to be fantasy relevant. I don't think he'll be able to get the big totals with Nick and also with Josh Dacos there. I don't think he can. So that's why with him also missing round 0, it's kind of annoying. So he'll be one that we get the data on, and then we just pick him up back end of the season if the data does suggest that. And then the last guy in this top end that we want to talk about before we get to the rookies is Harry Perryman. I was a little bit worried here when the first, I think, half-time came around, and I believe he had maybe 5 touches and 7 tackles, I want to say. Let me just go to all quarters and then the tackles, because he led the tackle count with 10 in the game, but in the first quarter he had 5 tackles. So yeah, he sat at half-time with 5 touches, 5 disposals, a goal, and 7 tackles. I didn't like that sort of split there, because I thought that's not going to be very, very indicative of what is going to be able to be repeatable with the numbers. You're not going to have 14 tackle games. He was sitting on 43, which was all right. You're not going to have 14 tackle games, etc. So we obviously get round 0 to watch with Perryman. I think our hand's going to be forced anyway with Perryman because of the low numbers in the backline, etc. Especially if SDK doesn't ruck that well or have a really good total there. That's probably going to force our hand to get Perryman. But I did like the second half there, and also I think that you have to factor in that teams are going to tag Nick Dacos a lot closer than what Richmond did, or even just put a big body on him, which is probably going to mean that he's not going to get as many touches as what he did, which means that I think that Perryman's probably, even though he was playing a more defensive role, is probably going to have to actually get a little bit more touches, and I think we saw that in the second half. They started to use him a little bit more, so it'll be interesting. I think he's just a guy that is still a watch, but like Short, I think you have to go for him because of the situation we've got in the back line, and that's because it's basically that I feel like there's going to be more value. There's going to be value elsewhere, and if they do hit these guys like Short and Perryman, you're going to be missing out on that big riser there. Whereas if they're basically, the range of their scoring, I feel like for Short and Perryman is like an 85 to a 100 type of range. And that type of range is at least what they're priced at, if not going above. And then you still have the chance to go at these other mid prices as well. Whereas I think the other guys, like, you may still get better scoring out of Wanganui and Malira, but he's only going to maybe go up 5 points, if that. Cameron, Hill, Markov, Banks I thought was pretty good, but I'm pretty sure he's a mid only, if I'm led to believe. Banks is 448k or something. Yeah, 448k mid only. That just does not give me any confidence to go with him. If it was a defender, then fair enough, but no thank you. Sonsi Mansell, side bottom, Taranto, really shocked about this. He started off really good. Obviously we'll have an extra 15% time on ground or so, but I just don't know if he can do enough to be honest, early on. So let's just wait and watch there. Elliot Allen came on late on and did pretty well, but I don't think he's best 23 for Collingwood. McCreary, Pendleby, Blight, Howell, Will Hoskin, Elliott, Tom Brown. Reece McGuinness, disappointed in that he didn't get too much of the ball. Given the time on ground, I thought his role would be slightly better, but obviously we get the round 0 watch to see him. Vlosten, Sampson, Ryan Dale, Trainer as well came on late, so doesn't look the greatest for him, but I thought he still did look good in his cameo. Josiah Screen, Campbell, Crisp, Parker, Miller, Bauer, Armstrong, McAuliffe, Darcy Moore, Rioli, Fawcett, Sims, Long, and Frampton. And for anyone out there wondering why key defenders aren't that good, this Ben Miller, Darcy Moore, these guys are all experienced, and 65, 90. I can go and look at Broad, 48 as well, so that's just 3 defenders. If you average that out, I'd hazard a guess that's probably about 35, 36 between the 3 of them. You can't be having that. That can easily just be beaten by a rookie halfback. So that's why we don't go for key PEDs in the defender space. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this game. Richmond didn't basically play any of their rookie per se, their newish rookies, Smiley. I mean, they did play their tools in that of Harry Armstrong, who kicked 2 behind. Who else? Fawcett, Sims. These guys are long project players. They're not going to be valuable in fantasy. We know that, given that I just said that KPDs aren't valuable, KPFs are not valuable, especially rookies. So we didn't get to see Layla or Smiley for them. We did get to see Luke Trainer, which was good, but yeah, he looks good, but I think he's still a little bit away, so we'll see how that goes for them. But anyway, if you did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you are listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next game, pre-season game review. So I'll see you guys then. Bye guys.